And it's not because like I'm biased in terms of, being passionate and that's how my theology comes the way it does. I'm passionate because this is true. This is who God is. And if it wasn't true, I wouldn't be a Christian. I really wouldn't. And I don't mean that in the sense that, like, if God isn't who my brain says he is, or if he doesn't fit my ideology of who God is, then I don't want him. It's not that. It's wrestling with my ideologies of God so much and seeing that every time he gets better and better. That's what people, just understand this, please. God is so merciful with us. There is no, he doesn't, like, this is why I have and this is what I'm wrestling with, right? Is God's grief of us in our sin. But I don't know if not starting a podcast causes grief, if I think not preaching the gospel causes grief. Maybe, I mean, some would argue, you're quenching the spirit, this and that. And I'm, farther down the line, I'm going to go deeper down that rabbit hole and trying to understand that. But for right now, I mean, we just need to know that God is gracious and merciful, and that our life doesn't slow down, our life isn't hit on pause in the sense that God is withholding something from us. Yeah, maybe our life physically, in a physical sense, is put on pause because we stop doing things. That's natural, right? You plan on getting, your master's, your degree, whatever the case is. You stop doing classes, you've put that on pause. But life continues, right? And life, you take a detour. That detour might be super important. That detour might actually give you the tools to excel in your master's degree or your actual, your bachelor's or whatever the case is. We need to stop thinking that there's one goal to our life. God is thinking of every area of our life. It's multifaceted, and we don't stop growing if we're connected to God, if we're abiding in God, like, a branch into a tree, grafted into a tree, we're going to start producing stuff. We get life source from the trunk, right? And so the growing continues and it doesn't stop. Actually, that does remind me of a friend back in college, and he would ask me that. He's like, do you think that, can we be stagnant? And I really don't believe so. If we're connected to God, we're growing. If we're not connected, we're withering. And that's it. There is no stagnant. Because what happens when we get into those seasons of our lives where we feel like we put some things in pause, if we're not abiding in God, then we're not learning the lesson we need to for that season. If we are disconnected, we start withering. What does that mean? It means that we could start getting bitter. We can start looking at that. It could be a relationship. It can be, again, the degree. It could be a job, whatever the case is. We start withering. We start thinking, oh, but that was the better thing for me. Like that, I shouldn't have made the decision I've made and this and that. But we all, I don't know, man, doors open, doors close. And I know some of us are self-destructive. And even if I have had the habit of being self-destructive, my self-destruction, especially in like people's lives, it really has been, God's grace on their lives. If I tried to pull through and tried to tell myself, no, I'm being self-destructive, I'm not going to be self-destructive, I would have been emotionally abusive. I would have been, neglectful. I would have been whatever the case was. And like, so I know that there's this narrative of like, oh, because there's that side idea about being self-destructive. It's like, I'm not good enough for this person, and so I'm going to push that person away. You're absolutely right. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, get your stuff together, because that, like, there's hope in that, right? Like, get your stuff together.